Hello everyone and welcome back. It has been quite a while, but and I apologize. So I'm back again with another video about, well, the skill tree. And yeah, this confusing mess of a thing. At first, it's really intimidating. You don't know exactly what the hell you're looking for, and I was there too. And it's just the way I got around it, and I don't expect you to, is by fiddling around and also looking at the internet and cheating and getting help from others, which is why I'm here. Well, there's a system that I like to do, and a lot of other people do as well, is, as I zoom in, start with a survival tree. You live longer, you can last in a fight, the more you can dish out damage, the more you can kill things and get XP and put it back into the mech and you level up faster and all that fun stuff. Now, of course, that's if you, depending on if you win or lose. If you win, you get more XP. If you lose, you get regular XP, which sucks, but oh well. So, survival tree. There's a trick. This is more or less more of a min-maxing effort for the skill tree. One thing I do want to point out, though, and I always forget to do this, the skill tree is for the skill tree is not to help your mech. The skill tree is there to iron out the kinks. So, say at this build that I have, this is 4 ER large lasers. It's hot as hell. Well, it's not hot as hell. It's kind of cool, but it can get up there in heat. Only problem being is that, well, I don't have any skills in the mech. Skills are only there to improve the build and not make the build work. If your build doesn't work by itself, you might need a new build. So, a way to help the mech is survival tree. As I've stated before, and will keep stating until I actually talk about the damn tree. In the current state of the game, machine guns are abundant, and LBXs, and other sorts of weapons that can crit out weapons and structure. Which is, you would think you would want more structure, more skeletal density. That's not really the case because, well, if you're buffing up something that's just going to get a multiplier on it, you're only delaying the inevitable, and it's not going to help as much as you could with armor. Armor, you can't crit armor, so you might as well stack up as much armor as you can. What I'd like to do, along with others, is basically go along this left side, like so. Come on, there we go. Right here, 16 points, as you can see, to get survival. And what that does is it gives us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8. I don't know math. 8 armor hardening nodes out of 10. And the other 2 are over here. And if you want to get the other 2 armor hardening nodes, you're going to have to spend another 5, 10 nodes to get after those armor hardening nodes. And that's for 2.4% more armor. If you have the nodes, definitely go for it. Don't let me stop you. If your build is just going to call for brawling, you're most likely going to need as much armor and structure as possible. But wait, you said structure's bad. It's like, well, in the case where you're brawling and everyone's going to be shooting at your face, you want as much survivability as you possibly can. So, when there's rules, there's caveats. Most of the time, I have yet to see a rule that doesn't have a caveat to it. Moving on. Now, if you're in a light mech, you want this beautiful tree right here. You've already gone max XL engine. Unless you're an urban mech, you're going LFE. For the love of God, go LFE. Every other mech, clan or Innersphere, you're an XL mech. And the mobility tree is your friend and savior. Because Well, yeah. You're going to want the survival tree as well. You're going to want that armor because the more armor you have, the less they're going to, or the more chance you have of running away and surviving the encounter. I know some people with lights and survivability tree, it's a bit of it's a topic of discussion, but if you have the nodes, you might as well put it into something that's going to help you live just a little bit more. Now, for mobility, and going back to the survival tree and lights, you don't put everything into here unless you absolutely have all of the nodes and you're not going to be missing it anywhere else. But we could talk about that later. So, mobility tree is what I go for first on lights, most of the time. Some people say go auxiliary tree. I like to go fast. Make sure I go fast. It's slow going, but that's what I like to do. Talk about that after I talk about mobility. So, mobility, straight shot, 21 nodes. Do this all the time. All the way over here, down and over, and bam. Now, what I've just done is I've just taken the shortest route possible to get to speed tweak. And to get torso pitch. All your torso pitch, you get all your torso pitch in this paving, basically. You could either go this way, you can go anchor turn or torso speed. I normally go anchor turn because lights already have a tremendous amount of torso speed. So there's not much use in increasing it, whereas anchor turn, some mechs are slow, and increasing the anchor turn is a good thing to have. Because that means you get around corners quicker, and to get around corners quicker means you're getting shot less. Right, so speed tweak is our main objective. It means we're going faster by 5 nodes. Well, God, I have to do math. That's 3, 4, 4.5, 5, 6, 7.5%. Not quite 10% sadness, but 7.5% is still pretty nice because percentages, higher KPH means, and with a percentage means you're going faster a lot more than you would from, say, an Annihilator. If you speed tweak your Annihilators, you better have a damn good reason of going. You don't speed tweak your Annihilators, please. Or anything, like, you can speed tweak some mediums, but don't speed maybe a heavy or 2, but you better have a very good reason. Very, very good reason. I just suggest you don't do it. But yeah, 21 nodes in mobility tree. If you're light, easy peasy, done with. If you're not a light or plan on doing anything like that, yeah, just don't worry about the mobility tree. Jump jets, we're never gonna use this. I mean, it's quite hilarious when you do, but it rarely are you gonna use the jump jet tree. Operations, we'll get to that. Sensors, we'll get to that. Auxiliary tree. This is going to be the bread and butter of all of your mechs. This is where you eke out more damage through the salvos, or you eke out more DPS with the cool shots, or you just like to see the enemy with UAVs. And you get more XP through UAVs and damage. Now, of course, there's a lot of debate as to whether or not people should be using salvos, but that's because, well, I'm half and half on that. But anyways, so let's just say you're light. You're going to want UAVs. It's 5 nodes, easy, done with. You get, the max you can ever get is 2 UAVs because of that extra UAV node. Otherwise, if you don't have this node, you can only have 1 UAV. And there are ways in builds that have 1 UAV and it's viable. I like 2 UAVs because I like knowing where the enemy is in multiple occasions. Because if I'm in a light, I don't want to run into the enemy team. That's a bad thing to happen. Because normally you end up dead. Because you're just this little tiny thing in front of 12 people. And then, well, there's videos of that kind of thing, but we're not going to go into that. So UAVs grant vision over an area, and that area is extended through the UAV range nodes. It's pretty nice, and for however long it's up and people are under the UAV, you get both CPILs and XP for having them, and there's for having the UAVs up, and there's other things along with it. So if you're light and you're skilling, you could maybe go for the auxiliary tree first over mobility. It's fine. You're not going to miss much. It's 5 nodes. It's pretty easy to get, and you get a lot of rewards afterwards. I just like going fast as soon as possible. Now, for most builds, you're going to want cool shots. Cool shots are, if you remember to use them, are going to help you shoot longer. Especially in those hotter builds, where if you get hot, you're reaching that 70% plus threshold. Use that cool shot, reduce that heat, and continue swinging. That's basically it. Cool shots just reduce your heat, and then the enhanced cool shots just make the cool shots more effective. And cool shots have ridiculous cooldown, so having that cool shot reduction node, if you have 2 of them, is a good idea. If you don't plan on having 2 of them, then don't get those 2 nodes. It's absolutely worthless, unless you want that extra consumable slot, which using an extra node for that isn't all that bad, but more often than not, you're probably, and you can get cool shots in any mech. If it's hot, you want cool shots. Advanced salvos, which is your airstrikes and your artillery strikes. What you do, basically, is just you point at something, you fire a airstrike or an artillery strike, and then a few seconds later, an airstrike goes by, and in a line, just hits people, so hopefully in that line, because, people move. Or an artillery strike, shells will come from the sky. You don't see the shells, you just see the puffs of dirt flying as artillery shells hit them. And they all deal damage. I'll show where to put all the cool shot. Oh, actually, I can do that now. So, if you have consumables, you go over to consumable tab. Let me do that a little bit slower. That's not what I want. So, over here, just above your weapons, you see these tabs. Go to the consumables, and there we go. We have your options right here. Since we don't actually have any nodes, we can only put in 1 of these consumables, and they cost 40,000 each. So if you're space poor, consumables are going to be rather expensive. If you're not space poor, you don't care. Consumables are going to bring more bang for their buck if you know how to use them. If not, well, the only way to learn how to use them is by getting better with them and maybe asking questions to streamers on how to get better. Maybe I'll make a video later. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, you can just pop that auto refill so you don't have to keep filling it in every time. Like I said, if you're space poor, then you probably don't want that auto refill on, because it's 40,000 credits every single match, or every time you use the consumable. But enough about that. So, let's say we're a regular mech, we're not a light. We're not going to do any exceptions. We have our survival tree. Let's say we're a hot build, so we want our cool shots. We don't know. We're not really fast enough for UAVs. Now, there's other times where you want a UAV, but that goes into more advanced tactics. We're not going to really talk about that yet. We're just trying to get you to learning the skill tree. So, you have your cool shots. Maybe you want to do some damage consumables later. We'll get to that. We'll see. We don't know exactly how your build's going to look later. Now, if your build is hot, and if you're clan, you're going to want operations, because you're going to have a lot of heat sinks. And heat sinks are improved with the operations tree. So, and just to note, I know I haven't talked about it yet, it's this nice hulking thing, but firepower is going to be the last tree you go into. Because there's a lot of things that you can get from here, but number 1 or 2 is survival and auxiliary. Number 3, operations. Number 4, you can then go into firepower or sensors. It depends on what you're doing. So, operations. We're going to put in about 20-ish nodes in here. So, at first, you're probably going to have a little bit of nodes to do this. You're going to get 3 cool runs and 3 heat containments. What that does, heat containment, is it increases your... hey, let's look at this. The maximum heat threshold before a mech shuts down. Basically, if your heat threshold is 50, it's going to increase it by 9%. Which is like 54 or 55, depending on how the percentage sways the decimal. Or if the system rounds up or not, I have no idea. Now, you could go for more. You could stop here. It's perfectly fine. Because we have 6% on heat dissipation, which the more heat sinks you have, the more effective the 6% heat dissipation is going to be. But, yeah. The less you have. So Intersphere more or less is going to get the short change on the cool run nodes, but it's still going to be helpful because the weapons are more heat neutral compared to clan. But that's also a different case. We could put in more nodes. That's not what I want. There we go. We can grab another 6% of heat containment and another 4% of cool run, totaling 10% heat dissipation, and then 15% of heat containment or heat threshold. That's nice. At the moment, the heat containment is rather buggy at the moment, so take that as you will. I have no idea when they're going to improve it. The PGI knows of the issue. They're trying to figure out a solution. Everything else in here is basically just, you don't need to care. I mean, improved gyros, if you don't like being knocked around, or if you can't handle that, then maybe go for those. But speed retention is kind of okay. Where if you're legged, then you can still go forward. It's just you don't exactly have a lot of speed, and you're only going to reach a cap of 50 kph. So take it as you will. Everything else really you don't need, especially quick ignition. You're never gonna shut down effectively. It does not help you when you are shut down because of cooling. It does not help with that. So yeah, the hill climb is kind of useful if you're in a mech without jump jets. It makes hills a little less impeding, so hill climb can be useful. But cool run, heat containment, that's what you're mainly looking for. So let's just say we're thinking we're going to be kind of short on nodes, we're thinking, on this build. This is general build. We're not talking about the build that I just talked about right here, the 4 large lasers. This is just general. Say we don't like being shot at by auto lock-on missiles, so we're gonna go over to sensors. Now, what sensors do, they do a nice array of things. You can do advanced zoom. I don't recommend it, but if you are sniping and you don't have the ability to see 1,000 or 1 click, not 1 click, that's just 1 kilometer. If you don't have the ability to see, oh no, it is in meters. I am bad at this. If you don't have the ability to see a click out into the field, advanced zoom may be something you want. The only time you're using advanced zoom should be when you're using Gauss rifles, ER larges, and that's it. If you're using heavy Gauss, you don't need advanced zoom, but if you're using light Gauss or clan Gauss or clan ER larges or inner sphere ER larges, those are the only weapons you should be using advanced zoom on, because those are the sniping weapons. Oh, and PPCs. I forgot about PPCs. So yeah, those weapon systems are the only ones you should be using advanced zoom on. Please stop using advanced zoom on other weapons. Target retention is fine, and it's only another node outside of the tree that we're going to use, the path we're going to use. Basically what it does is that it makes it so you can lock onto a target that in a 360 rotation. So if a mech goes behind you, you can keep lock on that mech, and as they circle back around, you can, well, you know where they are, and just go kablamo. Hi, how's it going? Are you dead yet? Oh, you are. Bye. Move on. So the general path of this is just pick up radar deprivation, because the plan of radar deprivation is for people to lose their locks on you when you are moving in and out of cover. So say you're moving from point A to point B, where point A is behind a rock and point B is behind a building, but there's open space in between. Radar deprivation is going to help, because you're going to go out of the cover, they're going to lock on, and then they're going to fire their missiles. Now, missiles take a while to get to you, and when you go behind cover, they are then going to, or out of line of sight, really, line of sight is the better term I should use. When you go out of line of sight, the missiles have a tick of how long they can lock on for, based upon the mech's nodes, because there's other ways to keep lock on, like target decay, where you increase the amount of time a mech is trackable when it leaves line of sight. So a missile boat may have that, and radar deprivation basically combats against that. And really, radar deprivation just makes it so that you lose locks easier, compared to not having radar deprivation. So it's a great thing to have. There is one other thing to pay attention to, is ECM. ECM standard makes it so that people can't target you within 600 meters. Now, that's not necessarily helpful in a situation where you're fighting enemies at 600 meters, because they can go within 600 meters, target you, and then missiles fly at you. It's gonna be a bad time. You can decrease that. Why can't I? Oh, it's because I don't have ECM. Haha. Add 2 nodes over here. But yeah, you must. If you have ECM, you are getting advanced ECM systems. There is no question about it. I don't care if you want to try and argue your point. No, you are getting enhanced ECM nodes. It makes it so that it can't target you at 300 meters, which, kind of a big deal. 600 meters, 300 meters means brawl range, basically. Brawl to mid-range. So they have to be like in your face in order to target you. And if you're a sniper, that's good. That means you can stand outside and only other snipers can fire back at you. Which means you can either harass other snipers or harass the alarm boats. Or missile boats. It's a good feeling. It's a good feeling. But let's just say we're tired of lone boaters harassing us, so we're going to have radar deprivation. And we've gone over 1, 2, 3, and then back over to firepower. We have 43 out of 91 nodes. The reason why the firepower tree is so big is because you have a lot of options, and it's really intimidating. So, range. It increases range. Pretty simple. If you're a sniper, you want range. If you're a brawler, you kind of want range. Range nodes are good. Range nodes are your friend. You're going to pick them up as you go. Don't worry about the location of range nodes at all. There is, however, a very good thing to know, and that is, if you're looking for heat generation on a mech, it's going to be slanted toward the left-hand side of the tree. If you want, or I should say visual left-hand side, because people want to be kind of cute and say, oh no, it's actually on the right side because we turn around. Anyways, so heat gen nodes are more favored on the left-hand side. Cooldown nodes are favored on the right-hand side. We can do this right now as I highlight all of the heat gen nodes on the left-hand side. There. So that's all your heat gen nodes on the left-hand side, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 heat gen nodes. And only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cooldown nodes. On the right-hand side, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Did I do that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cooldown nodes, and only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 heat gen nodes. Did I really just fuck that up entirely? Is my whole planning just out of order and whack? What? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, there we go. Nope. 8 heat gen nodes on the left-hand side, 6 heat gen nodes on the right-hand side, and then more cooldown nodes on the right-hand side and less cooldown nodes on the right-hand. More cooldown nodes on the right-hand side, less cooldown nodes on the left-hand side. Tongue twisters. And then you can grab 4 cooldown nodes down the middle. It's down the middle. It doesn't have a side. You're going to get 4 cooldown nodes. And as you see, as you go along, you pick up range nodes, which is why I really don't care about range nodes. There are the special nodes is something that you want to pay attention to. And it is going to determine whether or not you're going to do a lot of nodes in the firepower tree. So say you're a pure ballistic build. Immediately, you're going to focus on the right-hand side. You're going to want... Now, say you don't have gouts. Good, that's fine. Say you have ultra autocannons. You're going to want these... No, where'd you go? Oh, there you are. You're going to want these 2 nodes in particular. Basically, what they do is they reduce the jam duration, which could mean from the eternal UAC 20 to, it might come back online at some point, jam of the UAC 20. And less because the jam duration on the other weapons is less compared to the UAC 20. I say UAC 20 because it's negative 15% on the jam duration. It's rather apparent on a UAC 20 as compared to, say, a UAC 2. It's very, very negligible, but you still want it because less jam time means more pew-pew. More pew-pew is good. That's why you have UX, because you get to do pew-pew. Moving on. Now, there's another weapon system, as I already talked about, called LBXs. They're spread. If you reduce the spread, that means they're more focused that means they're more focused, and then their spreads out at a longer range. So say that the spread comes out in a 1 spread. a 1.0 spread. If you have the LBX nodes, that means they're going to spread out farther than they would, because they immediately spread out after the barrel, but it slows down, or they spread out less as time goes on with the LBX nodes, is what I'm trying to say. And probably I'm confusing the fuck out of you, but I'm moving on. Basically, bottom line, if you have LBX weapons, you get LBX spread. Unless you have LB2s. You really don't need LBX spread on that. And then Gauss charge, only one node. You only need one node of Gauss charge, because it furthers the Gauss charge time. Meaning, you can't change how long it takes for the Gauss to charge, but you can change how long you can hold that charge. So instead of going from like a half a second or a second to a second and a half, it's nice. Or 1.75 seconds. That's what that means. And you don't need another second and a half of Gauss charge, because that becomes bad. Because if a friendly comes into your shot, you don't want to stand there forever green lighting, and then all of a sudden your finger slips and then you just Gauss a friendly in the back. That's not good. But let's say you have a combination of... Oh, and magazine capacity. You're going to want those automatically. You're searching for those. It increases your magazine capacity of whatever ballistics you have. More ammo means more damage, which means you're running out of ammo less, which is very good. Very, very good. Now, say you have missiles. Well... yeah, more clicking. Click, 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 click. Click, click. Click, 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 click. So, high explosive. It's a good no. Especially if you have a lot of missiles like MRMs. It basically increases the critical damage if a missile crits. If you do that, and then that means it's a 15% increase of the critical damage, which is rather nice, especially when you're using either MRMs, where you have a lot of missiles, or you're using SRMs, which it's 2 damage per missile, so extra crit damage kind of hurts. And ATMs, if you're using those, and then you have the high explosive nodes, it's going to hurt a lot more. And again, you only crit on structure, never armor. Missile spread. You're going to want missile spread, because the tighter... It's basically the same principle as the LBX spread nodes. That's basically it. And then missile racks for the same purpose as magazine capacity. Now, as you can see, we're already 93 nodes above the... We're at 93 nodes compared to 91, which is easily settled. Later on, we can take out a few nodes. That's no biggie. I'm just trying to show you things and how to navigate. Now, there are these velocity nodes. I am going to recommend you pick up velocity nodes no matter what you have. If you have a projectile, you're going to want velocity nodes as many as you can. Think of them more of a delicacy, and if it's there, you take it. If you have extra nodes at the end, which in this you don't, but that's a different story. If you have the extra nodes, you take the velocity nodes, you live, and you're happy. Because the more velocity you have, the less lead time you have on a target, which means more accurate shots. That's the theory. And then laser duration is the only thing for lasers. But, I mean, the basic principle of laser duration is that you have negative 10%. I think that's negative 10%. Yes, negative 10% laser duration, which means you hold the laser on a target longer, meaning you have you increase your DPS, basically, and your accuracy. Because whereas you can hold, say you have a Clanny or a large laser, and you're holding that sucker down for 1.35 seconds on a target. That's quite a bit of time. You don't want to be looking at a target for 1.35 seconds because a lot of stuff can happen in 1.35 seconds. And a lot of punishment can happen. So, just laser duration. If you have lasers, take laser duration. Even if they're pulse lasers, take laser duration. It's a good thing to have. Flamer ventilation. I mean, if you have flamers, you're really taking flamer ventilation. You don't really care what they do. But what they do is that they increase the rate at which rammed heat dissipates, which you can see in the corner over there. That's basically... It just means when your flamers get hot, then they cool off faster. That's basically all that means. And you kind of want your flamers to cool off a lot faster because, well, you like shutting down mechs and you like tearing them into pieces afterwards. That's about it. And that really concludes this video because, well, not really doing much outside of that. Yeah. So if you guys have questions, let me know. That is the skill tree. Hopefully I explained everything. And oh yeah, doing a recap. So first nodes you want to get first: auxiliary or survival. 2, mobility. If you're light, you go for the mobility tree over survival. After that, you go into survival, firepower, operations. It's up to you from there. So auxiliary, survival, operations is third, always third. Sensors and firepower, that's up to you. I'd more go for firepower because I necessarily don't care about sensors because for lack of a better understanding, I'm more skilled at the game. I know where to hide and where to go to hide from missiles raining down on me. There are times where I got cut out, sure, but that's more because of the map, and I cry every time. But yeah, that's it. Hope you guys learned things. Till then, peace.